The letter shook in Martha's hands like a dying leaf. 3 words burned through the parchment. Come immediately. Urgent. But it was the signature that made her knees buckle. Thomas Whitmore, the man who had sworn never to speak her name again. She pressed her back against the weathered door of the boarding house, clutching 8-year-old Clara's hand. The child's wide eyes searched her mother's face, reading the terror there like scripture. They'd been running for 6 months now, town to town, one step ahead of the whispers that followed them like vultures. A woman alone with a child and no ring, some sins the frontier never forgave. Mama? Clara's voice was paper thin. Are we going to eat today? Martha's stomach clenched. Their last coin had bought Clara's breakfast yesterday. The boarding house owner had already made his intentions clear. Pay rent, or find other ways to settle accounts. His leering smile haunted her dreams. The Missouri wind howled through the gaps in the walls, carrying the scent of coming winter. Clara shivered against her threadbare coat, and Martha felt something break inside her chest. Pride was a luxury she could no longer afford. Thomas's farm lay 2 days' ride north. She remembered it from before everything went wrong, before she'd run away pregnant and ashamed, before she'd spent 8 years pretending he didn't exist. His letter had found her through a network of desperate inquiries she'd never expected him to make. My Sarah died birthing our son, the letter continued in his careful script. The boy didn't make it either. I have a house, land, cattle. You have a daughter who needs stability. I'm not offering charity, I'm offering partnership. Come if you're willing to work. Come if you can forgive an old fool who let pride matter more than love. Martha closed her eyes, remembering Thomas as he had been. Broad shoulders bent over more. Ning chores. Gentle hands mending broken fence posts. Eyes that crinkled when he laughed. He'd wanted to marry her then, before her father's debts forced her into another man's bed, before shame drove her into the wilderness alone. Clara tugged her sleeve. Mama, that man is staring again. The boarding house owner leaned in his doorway, gold tooth gleaming. He tapped his pocket watch and smiled. Martha made her choice in the space between heartbeats. Get your things, baby girl. Where are we going? Martha folded the letter carefully, tucking it against her heart. Home. But as they walked toward the livery stable, she couldn't shake the feeling that some journeys led not to salvation, but to reckonings that had waited far too long. The farm materialized from the morning mist like a memory made solid. Martha's breath caught as she recognized the red barn, the split-rail fence, the stone chimney sending smoke signals into the gray sky. 8 years collapsed into nothing. Thomas emerged from the barn carrying a milk pail, and time stuttered to a halt. Silver threaded his dark hair now, and lines mapped his face like tributaries of grief. But his hands, those careful, capable hands, remained unchanged. He set down the pail slowly, as if sudden movements might shatter the moment. Martha? Thomas. Her voice cracked like dry kindling. Clara pressed closer to her mother's side, studying this stranger who spoke her mama's name like a prayer. Thomas's gaze dropped to the child, and Martha watched his face transform. Wonder, recognition, and something deeper flickered across his features. She has your eyes, he said quietly, and her father's stubbornness. Martha's laugh held no humor. Thomas stepped forward, then stopped, respecting the invisible boundary between them. You came. We had nowhere else to go. The admission tasted like ashes. If you're having second thoughts, I'm not. He knelt to Clara's level, his voice gentling. What's your name, little one? Clara Elizabeth Hanson. The child's chin lifted with inherited pride. I'm 8 3/4. Clara Elizabeth. Thomas smiled, and Martha remembered why she'd loved him. That's a fine name. I'm Thomas. This is my farm. Our farm, if you'll have it. Martha's chest tightened. Thomas, about what happened before, the past is buried ground. His eyes met hers with fierce intensity. What matters is what we build now. But even as he spoke, Martha caught the subtle tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when he looked at Clara. The child was living proof of Martha's choices that had excluded him. Clara wandered toward the barn, drawn by the soft lowing of cattle. Thomas watched her go, then turned back to Martha. There's something you need to understand. This isn't charity, and it's not penance. I need help running this place, and you need security. But Martha, his voice dropped. I won't pretend I don't remember what we had. I won't pretend I stopped loving you. Heat flooded her cheeks. Thomas, I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. but I won't lie about wanting more than just your labor." The honesty in his words terrified her more than the boarding house owner's threats. Thomas offered something far more dangerous than mere survival. He offered hope. A cloud of dust appeared on the horizon, riders approaching fast. Thomas's expression darkened as he shaded his eyes. Trouble. Martha's blood turned to ice. They'd found her. 3 riders crested the hill like harbingers of judgment. Martha recognized the lead horse before she saw its rider, a palomino with distinctive white markings. Her former father-in-law, Judge Harrison, sat rigid in the saddle, his silver beard immaculate despite the hard ride. "Mama," Clara had returned from the barn, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "Get behind me." Martha pushed Clara toward the house, her mind racing. The judge had been hunting them for months, claiming Clara belonged with proper family. Now that his worthless son was finally dead drunk in a gutter, but dead all the same. Thomas stepped beside Martha, his presence solid as bedrock. "You know them?" "My husband's father. He wants Clara." Her voice barely carried over the thundering hooves. "Over my dead body." Thomas's hand moved to the rifle propped against the barn door. Judge Harrison reined up 20 feet away, flanked by his hired men, hard-faced drifters with guns worn loose in their holsters. His pale eyes swept over the scene, cataloging everything. Martha's defensive stance, Thomas's protective posture, Clara cowering behind them both. "Martha Hanson," the judge's voice carried the authority of 20 years on the bench. "You've led us quite a chase." "I owe you nothing," Martha lifted her chin. "Your son is dead, and his debts died with him. His daughter didn't." The judge's gaze fixed on Clara like a hawk spotting prey. "The child belongs with civilized people, not running wild with her disgraced mother." Thomas stepped forward. "The child belongs with her mother. You're trespassing on my land." Judge Harrison's laugh was winter wind through dead trees. "Thomas Whitmore, isn't it? I remember you from before, when this woman ran off pregnant with another man's baby." His smile was sharp as broken glass. "How noble of you to take in damaged goods." Martha flinched, but Thomas's expression never wavered. "Choose your next words carefully, Judge. I have legal custody papers." Harrison patted his coat pocket. "The territorial governor signed them personally. The child comes with me. Those papers aren't worth the ink they're printed with out here." Thomas's voice carried quiet steel. "This is my land. My rules." One of the hired guns shifted in his saddle, hand drifting toward his weapon. The other spat tobacco juice, his dead eyes never leaving Thomas's face. "You're outnumbered, farmer." The judge's tone turned silky with menace. "And I have the law on my side. Give me the child, and I'll forget this unfortunate display of misguided chivalry." Clara whimpered behind Martha's skirts. The sound broke something loose in Thomas's chest. "No." The word rang across the farmyard like a gunshot. Judge Harrison's facade cracked. "Then you've chosen your side. Boys!" The world balanced on a knife's edge. 3 guns against 1 desperate farmer and a woman with everything to lose. "Wait!" Martha stepped forward, placing herself between the guns and her family. The word family bloomed in her mind unbidden, encompassing Thomas and Clara both. "Just wait." Judge Harrison raised his hand, stopping his men's draw. "Finally showing sense?" "I want to say goodbye." Martha's voice cracked with manufactured grief. "If you're taking her, let me have 5 minutes. Please." The judge's eyes narrowed, but he nodded curtly. 5 minutes. No tricks." Martha knelt before Clara, pulling the trembling child into her arms. To anyone watching, it looked like a heartbroken farewell. But Martha whispered urgently against her daughter's ear. "Remember the story about the brave little rabbit?" Clara's eyes widened with understanding. The story, their secret signal from months of running. When Mama told that story, Clara was to hide in the deepest, darkest place she could find and stay silent until Mama came for her. "The rabbit who was very good at hiding?" Clara whispered back. "The very same." Martha kissed her daughter's forehead, then stood, placing a hand on Thomas's arm. Beneath her palm, his muscles coiled like steel springs. She needs to get something from inside, her father's Bible, something to remember him by. It was a lie wrapped in truth. Clara's father had owned no Bible, but the child understood. She walked slowly toward the house, each step measured and deliberate. Thomas caught Martha's meaning immediately. His years of hunting had taught him patience, strategy. "Take your time, little one," he called out. "Family deserves proper respect. Judge Harrison checked his pocket watch impatiently. Hurry along, child. We have ground to cover before dark. Clara disappeared into the house. Martha counted heartbeats, 10, 15, 20. Long enough for small feet to reach the root cellar, long enough to wedge herself behind the preserves where shadows swallowed sound. Enough! The judge gestured to his men. Bring her out. The first gunman dismounted, boots crunching across the frozen ground. Thomas shifted almost imperceptibly, positioning himself for maximum advantage. Martha felt the change in him. Farmer becoming predator. You know, Thomas said conversationally, I've been thinking about your custody papers. Have you now? The judge's tone dripped condescension. Funny thing about territorial governors. They tend to take a dim view of men who abandon their responsibilities. Thomas's smile was sharp as winter moonlight. See, I happen to know Governor Willis personally, served with his son in the Indian Wars. And I remember hearing about a certain judge who let his own son drink away the family fortune while beating his wife. Judge Harrison's face purpled. You're bluffing. The gunman reached the house. Inside, wood creaked as he searched. Martha held her breath. Am I? Thomas asked quietly. The gunman emerged from the house empty-handed, confusion creasing his weathered features. She ain't in there, Judge. Searched every room twice. Impossible. Judge Harrison's mask of control cracked completely. Check again. I did check. The man's voice carried the frustration of someone accustomed to finding what he sought. Little girl vanished like smoke. Thomas stepped forward. His rifle now cradled casually in his arms, close enough to use, relaxed enough to seem unthreatening. Seems to me you've got a choice, Judge. You can tear apart my property looking for a child who clearly doesn't want to go with you, or you can ride away and pretend this never happened. I have legal documents. You have paper. Martha's voice rang with newfound strength. But Clara has a home here, with people who love her, who won't sell her future for gambling debts or use her as collateral for your son's mistakes. Judge Harrison's pale eyes darted between them, calculating odds. Two determined adults defending a child they loved against hired guns who fought only for money. The arithmetic of loyalty never favored mercenaries. This isn't over, he snarled, but the words lacked conviction. Yes, it is. Thomas's voice carried the finality of winter settling over the plains. Next time you come onto my land uninvited, I won't be so hospitable. The standoff stretched taut as violin strings. Then the judge wheeled his horse around with vicious precision. Boys! The hired guns holstered their weapons and mounted up, following their employer toward the horizon. Martha watched until they became specks against the gray sky, her heart hammering against her ribs. Clara, Thomas called toward the house. The rabbits can come out now. A small head peeked around the root cellar door. Then Clara emerged, covered in dust and cobwebs, clutching a jar of preserves like a talisman. She ran to Martha, who swept her up in fierce embrace. Are they gone forever, Mama? Forever and a day, Martha whispered against her daughter's hair. Thomas approached slowly, respectfully. There's fresh milk in the kitchen, and eggs. Clara, do you know how to gather eggs? The child's eyes lit up. Can I really? Every morning if you want? They're your chickens now, too. As Clara raced toward the chicken coop, Martha turned to Thomas. 8 years of regret and longing hung between them like morning mist. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for coming home. He stepped closer, close enough that she could see her reflection in his eyes. Martha, I meant what I said, about not asking for more than you're ready to give. But I want you to know, both of you, you're safe here, for as long as you want to stay. She looked around the farm, at Clara chasing chickens, at the red barn where she'd once dreamed of children and happiness, at the man who'd waited 8 years for her return. Home wasn't a place, she realized. It was belonging. Thomas, her voice barely carried over the wind. Yes? Ask me again in spring. His smile could have powered the sun. I'll wait. Years later, when Clara had children of her own, she would remember this moment, her mother's hand finding Thomas's, the way autumn light painted everything golden, the sound of chickens clucking contentedly in their yard. She would remember how love looked when it finally came home to stay, patient as seasons and strong as the endless prairie sky.